Okay, now for the management, how do you need to actually manage this condition? The incidence rates for both forms vary from hard to hard depending on management. So this is where I want us to dwell on, because if you wait for it to now set in, then it becomes a gateway disease, then it becomes problematic. So management bit of it, what do we need to do? That's what we'll be able to discuss. But remember that now, the average number of lactations among other factors, studies estimate that for clinical hypocalcemia is only 5%. Clinical. Ile utatuma daktari inakuja afanye nini? Atibu. Ng'ombe imeanguka chini. It's only 5%. But the incidence rates for the subclinical form is about 50%, up to 50%. Meaning that most of the cases, your animals will be suffering subclinical form of hypocalcemia without your knowledge. And that's why we have all those issues. Infertility, all those things are happening, but you're wondering what is the cause of it, because you're not seeing anything. Are we together? So that is why now the management practices plays the major role in managing this condition. Now, how do we need to do this? We have various strategies or various protocols of management. The first protocol is what we call calcium restriction and dietary cation and iron difference, what we call the DCAT. Isn't it mingi? Don't even remember all those names. What you need to know is how to do it, okay? So what we're saying is that it's normally implemented for a very, very longer duration. But I know some of us, we have this challenge whereby now, when the animal is in the dry period, what he was mentioning, how do you manage animals in the dry period? Some of us, I know what we normally do is, when the animal nears paturation, we begin to, as part of steaming up, what do we normally give the animals? We give them what? We give them a bit of, some bit of concentrates, and also what? Dairy meal, the concentrates, that is the concentrates. What else? You give also what? Dry cow therapy. Dry cow what? Salts. The salts. And what else? You also give calcium. Calcium. I know many farms will give calcium. But if you give calcium, then that is what I was talking about here, the DCAD. What normally happens when you give calcium to the animals that are in the dry period, then this is what will happen. Remember the calcium hemostasis, okay? What will happen is when the animal is now calving down, whereby now there is that great stress or great demand for calcium already, because you are giving calcium at the dry period, inafika wakati whereby now it feels in the body that it has enough what? Enough calcium. So it goes and it shuts the calcium hemostasis process. So when the animal now calves down, hiyo calcium hemostasis inafaa ikuwe triggered, ianze kufanya kazi. But because already mwili yake inasikia I have enough calcium, so the system is now shut. Are we together? So when you need the calcium the most, the system is shut. Are we together? That's why we normally say that now for the calcium, we need to present it immediately when the animal calves down, not before, to support calcium hemostasis. Okay? Then now we have the treatment with IV and subcutaneous calcium solutions, ambayo hizi mnajuanga ile za kudunga. Okay? Then there is now the one that is now currently being adopted because of the issues of, you don't know how much calcium that you want to give to the animals. So you're just trying to play with, with figures or numbers. Can I give 500 ml? Should I give 1 liter? Should I give what? So because of all those gambling which has been in the past, that is why now the oral supplements came in. Because for the oral supplements, they are slow release. And therefore there will be no any dangers of you shutting down the calcium hemostasis. Naelewana hapo? So now we now have for the purposes of management that I was talking about here, the management practices. These days, we normally prefer that when the animal calves down at day 1, instead of you waiting for it to show signs of milk fever, it is now advisable that from day 1, you begin supplementing with oral calcium supplements that are slow release on a daily basis for 1 week. Are we together? So what will happen is that we are simply targeting the initiation of lactation, number 1. Number 2, we are targeting that the animal does not have too much calcium that will shut down the process of calcium hemostasis. Hiyo iliingia vizuri? Ama nimewa confuse? Iko sawa? So one of the very, very key strategies that you must employ in your farms, when the animal calves down like this, then for the first 1 week, 5 to 7 days, you give the oral calcium supplements. Sawa sawa? Okay, so let's move on and see. So for example, now we have the likes of Supercal that is in the market. I think there is a Muraguri. Is Muraguri? Yeah, we have what we call Supercal that has all these things. That's calcium, phosphorus, vitamin D. There's some Supercal that can go around somewhere there. Vitamin B12. So this B12 is a metabolic stimulant. Remember that now naturally when the animal calves down, it is natural or it is physiological that itakuwa na issues na low appetite. That is physiological. You can't do anything about it. That is physiological. Itakuwa na low appetite, okay? Now this low appetite is what we are targeting to sort out so that now iwe na ability ya whatever it will be able to consume can be able to help the animal. So it's just somewhere down there. So we have energy or carbohydrates. This will be very, very vital to ensure that now the animal has enough energy because we are battling negative energy balance, okay? We are battling the negative energy balance. So because it is slow release, then the animal probably will not. Actually, our main target is the subclinical form of milk fever, not the clinical form. Because this is now management, okay? The subclinical form, that is our main target. So I'm moving very fast for the interest of time. So what we'll see is that besides you trying to manage hypocalcemia, with the Supercal will also achieve increased milk production. This we just see naturally. Ukitumia for that first 5 days, there will be increase in milk production. Will also enhance fertility and reproductive performance. Will prevent milk fever and increase growth rate in calves, and also provide instant energy to weak and malnourished animals. So besides just you being able to tackle the issues of low level of calcium postpartum, okay? So just to the next challenge will be the challenge of negative energy balance, or we call energy imbalance. This is also very important at the process of transition periods. Already I've explained it before. This is what will happen. Remember that energy is very, very important for maintenance, for growth, for pregnancy, for lactation, and energy is also needed for milk synthesis. So already that the animal physiologically is going to issue a low appetite. So if you don't correct this, then the animal will slip or slide into a state of negative energy balance. So when we have low level of energy, then what next? Low milk synthesis. And therefore the animal will give you low milk yields. So that's what we want to target or to sort out. So what normally happens if you don't act in time, then the animal begins to mobilize its own body reserves, targeting to give the energy that this animal requires. And then if that happens, then the animal now comes up with milk fever. So this is just a simple diagram that explains what happens. Now that is net energy requirement, and this is now the number of days postpartum. So you find out that, like I was saying, it is physiological. The one in green here is feed intake. This is now postpartum, immediately postpartum. So the green here is feed intake. The blue here is energy demand by the body immediately post-calving. Then the one that is red here is the energy balance. So you find out that as the animal nears paturation, so at 0 here is the day of paturation or the day of calving down, upper 0. So now the negatives is days pre-paturation or pre-calving. The positives here is the days after paturation. So you'll find out that if you look at the green, which is now the feed intake, as the animal nears paturation, the feed intake is going low, or it is declining, and that is physiological. So you have no control over it. It only needs management strategies. Peke yake. It is physiological. So as the animal nears the date of paturation, the feed intake itakuwa inaenda kaput. But now, this is where now the irony is that as the feed intake is going down, look at the demand for energy. The demand for energy is doing what? So imagine demand for energy is increasing, but appetite imeenda imeenda chini. So what happens next? So the animal now slides into a state of negative energy balance. Inaanza kujikula sasa yani inakula body reserves. So now that's what I was saying, that if you allow it to reach that particular point, you are now losing. And that's what you want to address in the next few minutes. So the major challenge that will be associated with the negative energy balance, therefore, will have now these metabolic conditions. One of them being ketosis. The second will be fatty liver disease, displaced abomasum, infertility, and low milk yield. And all of these things here, they are taking money away from you as the farm owner or the farm manager. Sawa sawa? Good. So this is what normally happens. This is some deep science. I don't think I need to tell you all this. This deep science, that's how it happens. And then now, this is how the animals will be appearing. Now, in your farm, when you see an animal that is just freshly calved appearing like this is now a culprit, typical of ketosis. Are we together? The animal will appear like this. Now, this is how it will be presenting. Immediately before it was calving down, it was just okay. Very, very excellent body condition score. Now, immediately it just calves down like this. A few weeks, like 3-4 weeks after paturation, it now begins to waste away. Body wasting. Okay? Simply because it's now consuming its own body reserves. So this is now a very, very typical case of ketosis. So again, under extreme conditions, itakuwa inakaa hivi, it will be recumbent. In very extreme conditions, it will become on a lateral recumbency. Then from there, it just dies. So some of the major clinical signs to always remember, zile ziko very pathognomonic, yani zile ziko very open to anybody, are these in red. Number one, if you want to know that the animal has ketosis, inakataa kuchukua dairy meal before it eats anything. You'll only know this in the morning. Unaenda kukamua, si ndio? One of the main practices, ukienda kukamua, unapeana dairy meal pale, ndio ilambe ukifanya nini? Ukikamua. So in this particular case, ukipeana dairy meal, inakataa kulamba hiyo dairy meal. That is very, 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 very clinical or very, very what? Pathognomonic of your disease. Unaelewana hapo? Then number 2, acetone smell in milk or in the breath. Ukifungua mdomo hivi, jaribu kunusa, inanuka pombe. Under extreme conditions, ukijaribu kuangalia maziwa, inanuka pombe. That is very, 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 very pathognomonic of ketosis. Are we together? Now, this is how it will be looking like. Those two animals. If you see any animal in your farm, inakaa hivi, my friend, na ndio tu ilikuwa imezaa a few weeks ago, that is very, 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 very pathognomonic of ketosis. Sawa sawa. So I'm almost finishing. For the interest of time, what is very, very important for you is to know how it will appear, what it will look like, and how to manage it. Sindio? That's the most important. So there's some slides that I'll be able to pass, but for the diagnosis, I think this is important. Sometimes we have what we call subclinical ketosis. Subclinical means ya kwamba hautaona nini? Dalili, those major clinical signs. Hautaona, lakini what we'll see that will raise eyebrows ni ng'ombe ilikuwa na produce good milk, then all of a sudden imefanya nini? Imedrop. But there is no any other major challenge. So because of the issues of subclinical mastitis, still we have diagnostic test kits that can be used. But very, very simple test kits. Okay? Kuna ile inaitwa Porter BHB. This means beta hydroxybutyrate. It measures the level of these ketone bodies in the milk. So unaichukua hiyo test kit, unaweka milk pale, then in 2 seconds, in 1 minute, you're able to know if the animal has ketosis or not. Unaelewana hapo? Then from there you can manage it.